Hello, April Cox here with Self-Publishing Made Simple. Today, I get the pleasure of bringing back one of my former students who is just crushing it. Over 85,000 books sold. She is a machine, and she's going to share her expertise and knowledge and advice for some new and aspiring authors. So hang on, we'll be right back. So Misty and I first were introduced early on when she was getting ready to do her first book. And she was a part of my course, one of my star pupils, and she has just gone on to really crush it. Welcome, Misty. I am so happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your author journey.
Well, I started out early 2019, and luckily I found you right away. So I had joined Jay's group right away. I guess when you first start, wanting to do this, you look around for resources, and his group popped up because it was, it had the most people in it. And I don't remember what I posted. It was probably one of those things that all new authors post that you're like, if you just search around in the group, you'll find some answers. But I think you contacted me right away and said, let me do a strategy call with you. Let's jump on the phone and see if I can help you. And I was just so grateful that somebody was willing to, take me by the hand and offer some support. And I actually have started doing that for other authors because it meant so much to me. It really did, April. I was talking to you on the phone and you weren't charging me for it. And I was like, I can't believe somebody really cares. It meant a lot to me. And I always tell people, April was my first mentor. Like, she really just pointed me in the right direction. So I ended up taking your course. At the same time, I took a entrepreneur course, so starting your own business course. And when people ask me what's your secret to success, I say, if you want this to be your job, you have to treat it like a business. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what you're doing, take some business classes. I actually have a degree in business, and I still took a 12-week class to talk about owning your own business, because you are a business owner. So I was taking that simultaneously at the same time I was taking April's course and learning all of that. And I knew from the very beginning that I wanted this to be my job. I wanted it to be a business. And so that's how I started treating it from the very beginning.
I love it. And at the time, what was your day job?
So I was a lucky one, and I realize most people are trying to do this while they're working full time, and that is a challenge in and of itself. I had stopped working full time when I had children, and then I was part-time a property manager. We owned rental properties, and I was the manager for those. And then we sold them in 2017, which was a terrible time to sell. Looking back at the market now. But so for a year before I started getting interested in books, I wasn't working. And so my family wasn't, relying on that income. And I know that is a very good position to be in. And I know most people aren't in that position.
You decided early on that this was going to be something that you were going to do, and you were going to grow into a business. Yeah. Have you always loved writing? Did you start writing at a young age?
Yeah, but not knowingly. Looking back, yes, I had a knack for rhyme and meter and won some publishing contests in elementary school that I didn't really realize, I have a talent for that. Maybe this is what I want to do. That wasn't ever on the back of my mind. But when I became a mom, I would write stories for my kids, and then I would use pictures of them as the illustrations. And that's kind of how I did their scrapbooks, is I would make up a story, put pictures into it, and then I would publish those at like Walgreens, how they have those books. Right. And so I'd get books that way. End of 2018, I just thought, I have some good story ideas. I kind of want to get them published. And I started to look into it. And I think most people get in this mind, I don't want to self-publish. I want to traditional publish. In my mind, and I don't know if everybody else thinks this way, but I was like, self-publishing isn't like anybody can do that, right? I want it to be for real. Okay. So that was my mindset. And so I started looking into traditional publishing, and I got on Facebook, and I was like, do I have any author friends out there that would be willing to talk to me? And a few of them that I didn't even know were authors came forward, and or they would introduce me to somebody that they knew. And so I would talk to them and I was like, hey, how do I go about getting traditionally published? And they were all, I'm self-published. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. So I wouldn't pursue that. And then I was going to webinars and workshops, and I went to hear this girl speak that was traditionally published. When I first started out, I heard this, and this might discourage most people, but for me, it was motivation. She said, it takes on average 10 years to get traditionally published. And that's not 10 years from the time you start writing. That's 10 years from the time you have a manuscript ready and you're actively looking for agents and publishers. And she says, but to me, I was like, oh, if I do this for 10 years, I will be published. And to me, I sat there in that audience and I was like, what can I do myself in 10 years? And it was like that moment that I was like, okay, I'm talking to my self-published author friends and I'm seeing what they did, because I know I can do more for myself than to query agents for 10 years.
Right. And speaking of which, you have done amazing things. How many books do you have published right now?
I have 22, 13 are in English, 9 are in Spanish. I teasingly say that I'm working on 117 more but it's not a joke. I literally have a notes folder on my phone where I will put story ideas and I'll add to them. And there's 117 in there. So.
Oh my gosh. And this is in how many years, Misty?
So I met you right at the beginning. 2019 is when, I think January of 2019 is I'm self-publishing, I'm doing this. So then I did your course and the entrepreneur course at the same time.
So it's been a few years, right?
Yeah. So 3.5 now. Yeah. 3.5, but 2.5 since I published my first one. So that first year, I really spent time learning. I published 2 books that first year, and they were at the end of the year. It was a lot of learning. And then after I published those 2 books in 2019, 2020, I was like, I know what I'm doing. And I mean, sort of know what I'm doing, right? And then I was a member of the 20 books to 50 club on Facebook, where, I mean, their logic is that if you get 20 books out, you will make $50,000. You know, that's kind of how, so that was my goal. And I was like, how can I get these books out the fastest I can? I just want to get there. And so the next year I published 10. And then the next year I published 10 more.
What was your secret to having that many books published? Normally people are doing 1 a year, 2 a year if they're lucky. To get that level of publishing in 1 year is just spectacular.
Yeah. Again, it was back to the mindset where this is going to be my business. Therefore, I need things to sell. Like I need to have a foundation, right? Lots of people ask me that, and they'll come to me and they'll say, should I work on this book or should I work on this book? This book might be a series, but this one's not. And I'm not sure. I'm like, work on them both. Why do you have to wait until one's published to work on another one? And if you do have the same illustrator for those, then yes, I mean, your illustrator can only do so much. But for me, I have 4 series. I have another one coming out. And so I have different illustrators that I'm working with at the same time. It's a lot to handle. And honestly, if I were working full time, I couldn't have done it. But where this was what I wanted to do, it's what I focused on.
Any tips to being able to keep the cost down as you go through multiple books at the same time?
Yes. I mean, just what I've done is you go to Instagram and you look up hashtags, you look up a children's book illustrator, or you see a book that you like and you look up the illustrator, and it's a lot of asking. And if you have a bunch of questions set to ask them, then it makes it easier, because then it's not so much back and forth. It helps if you look at their portfolio and you can pick a picture that you really like and send them that one as their style, because lots of illustrators have a wide range. They have a wide range of styles, and some cost more than the other. So if you have one picked out, then that helps them too. And even when I don't have a book in mind, I'm constantly looking for illustrators, because I know that eventually I'm going to need another one. And I was very cautious at the beginning of how much I spent on illustrations, because I only had so much money to go towards my books. And I never did a Kickstarter. That's something I maybe will do in the future, not necessarily to raise the funds, but to have a different avenue to gather different people that I normally wouldn't reach. But I never did a Kickstarter. And so I had to be very careful. But again, because I was treating it like a business, I invested in myself. Debt is a very tricky word. And, I do have a degree in finance, and lots of people are like, no debt, no debt, no debt, which I totally agree with. I do. But there is some good debt, and there is the debt that will eventually make you money. And I believe in that, so I did go into debt my first year. I went into even more debt my second year, but because I was starting to make money on my books, I ended up breaking even the second year. And then the third year I was profitable. Now, normally with businesses, it can take 6 years to be profitable. So that's not easy to do. And it's okay if you don't do it that way. It's okay if it takes you a lot longer. But, because I invested in myself and I was very cautious about where I spent my money. I did hire an editor, and I did hire illustrations and formatting at first. Then I learned how to do my own formatting. But I didn't spend money on anything else. Like my email address support was free. My website was free at first. Like all of the things, I was very careful not to overextend myself at the beginning. I wanted to make sure I was getting income before I started going into, spending on those things. I wanted to spend money on assets and not spend it on other things that were just not going to bring me income in the future. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Can you share a little bit of your expertise and how did you get to that sales number, which is just astronomical, over 85,000 books sold?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is the same mindset that the 20 books to 50 goes off of. One book sells another. Yes, you can make a lot of money on one book. You can have the Amazon algorithm smile down upon you, and you can, but that's not going to happen for most of us, right? We're not going to have a bestseller on your first book. The thing that's going to help you sell a book the most is making your next book. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a series, that's great. That's what's going to help. Also, there's so many things you can do with your one book to create more things to sell. So if you've got lesson plans, you've got merchandise, and I have such a fun way to get merchandise, and it's super simple, and it's just another edition of what you're selling, coloring books. You can add a backlog of things to sell from your one book that you've already paid your illustrator for. So, and those things are very cheap to get started. In fact, the merchandise, the way that I do my merchandise is a print on demand, just like KDP. So it doesn't cost me any money up front. And then I make money on sales. So there's a lot of things you can do without any more initial investment, but you're also creating more things to sell.
Besides the whole idea that you need to make more books to sell, what are the few things that you did to get the word out that you did have these books to sell so that people knew about them? Social media ads. What was your contributing factor, you think, to getting the sales starting to really move?
Well, that's hard to say because my sales didn't really move at first. I didn't know anything about launching when I first launched my book. And I know your course has very much developed, but we didn't talk about that at first. Mm-hmm. And I remember you helping me set up my first book, and you're like, okay, we didn't know what to do then. And I didn't have a launch team. I did not have a launch team for my first book. So it took learning and developing to eventually get there. I mean, my first book is doing great now. And that's one thing I like to tell authors is if you have a flop of a launch, that's not the end. That's okay. Because I had my first book, I flopped the launch. My second book, I flopped. I didn't know about gathering reviews and all of that, the back end stuff right at first. And that's okay. My first book is one of my top 8 bestsellers. So that's not the end of the world for your book if you don't launch it well. But I just think eventually, as I kept working at it and as I built my email list and as I built my social media accounts, people would start to recognize my characters. And since most, they're in series, one book can sell the other. So as far as my advice for authors trying to get seen that don't have a bunch of books, my advice is to get a bunch of books.
That to you has been really key to getting.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said, the second year, I spent a lot of money and I made a little money. Well, I broke even, but I spent a lot of money publishing books, it's expensive. And I didn't start seeing a good return on my books until I had about 5 out. I mean, looking back, you think that was so fast. And maybe it was, but at the time, it didn't seem like it for me. At the time, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to break even. I don't know if I'm ever going to get the money back that I've spent on these books. And I am trying really hard and I'm working full time to sell these books. And so if that's where you are, I totally get that. I was there and I just had this drive. Like it was just, I don't know if you've seen the meme that says, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just know that not doing it feels worse. Have you seen that
Right.
reel?
Yes,
that was me. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be productive. I don't know if this is going to ever amount to anything, but I can't not do it. For some reason, I just had to do it. Yeah. And I luckily had a husband that supported me and we weren't relying on the money. So that was nice too. But if you have that drive like I did, I think you can go places. I really do. One thing you can work on is getting your website really working for you. So that's one thing that I put up a very simple, not great website for a long, long time. And it wasn't until recently that I was like, you know what, my website is a free employee. I do pay a small monthly fee for my website now, but it is working for me 24/7. And if you have it set up right, it's gathering emails for me. It's sending out automated emails for me. It's advertising my products for me. So I would say a website for sure is something you can get up and get going and make it like nice. You know, it's your home base for your business. It's like your storefront. So I didn't realize the importance of a website until recently. And it's been actually really nice to have that up and running for me now.
Nice. You talked about a little bit about what you do with other authors as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've published a few courses. One of them is called the Get It Written Workshop. It's a very basic mini course on writing children's books. And I don't say basic in that it's not chock full of information, because it is. When I first started out, I went to a one-week conference. It was in person. It was before COVID, where for an entire week, we just consumed children's books and I learned everything about them. And it was intense. I had no idea all of the back end of children's books, and there's literally a science to it. And that was so good for me to attend. And so I put all of that into this little mini workshop that I think is just chock full of information. And if you need help writing a manuscript and knowing the industry standards and what makes it sell and how to set it up so that it gets a child to want to read it again and again, all of that's in the Get It Written workshop. And then the second part to that is a Get It Published program, which I am actually working on right now. And it's in beta. I'm looking for beta testers to kind of help me give feedback and to make sure I'm explaining things well, because I know this stuff now, but I didn't know it back then. And I don't want to, be over people's head. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that one takes people from polishing their manuscript clear to publishing and everything in between, which, is a lot on the back end. I had a friend say to me once when I first started out and telling people I was interested in publishing, she's like, oh, you can just slap it on Amazon. It's super easy. And I looked at her and I was like, first of all, if you do it right, it's not super easy.
Right.
There's a lot to it. Yeah, you can slap anything on Amazon, but it won't even get seen if you put the exact name in it. Like there's a lot more to it than that. So we go into all that and all of the marketing and things that I've done to get my book selling. And I talk about how to do the merchandise and how to set up your website. I have a very, very favorite website host that I love so much that I kind of talk about it a lot. So
nice. I love it. And I love the heart of a teacher and that you're paying it forward and helping other people. That makes it amazing. Karen's asking, what merchandise can be POD?
Teespring.com, teespring.com is a print-on-demand merchandise website that they do shirts, mugs, shoes, bags, all kinds of stuff. And it's so easy. It's amazing.
Do you get many sales for like your merchandise that you do through the print on demand? And like, it's one of those things that's passive income. So it's like, all you're losing is the time that you put into it. But
yeah, I'm not doing anything else than setting it up. They do everything else. So no, I mean, it's not a ton and it's not near what I sell for my books, but I'm not afraid to mark up my products. So they have a pretty high base price. It's like, I don't know, $15 for a t-shirt, which is more than somebody would pay for a t-shirt, right? But I'm not afraid to mark up mine to $22 or $25 or whatever, because they're not buying a t-shirt. They're buying a character that their child has fallen in love with, right? So I don't sell a ton, but again, it's just passive income that's on the back end that I don't have to worry about anymore. It's called System.io, and you can go and check out their pricing. I'll tell you why I really like System.io. And that's actually my affiliate link I'm putting up there. So in full disclosure, I do get a little bit of commission if you sign up through System.io. However, that is not why I promote it. It is an all-in-one website that has made my life so much easier. So instead of having to have an email host and then a funnel host and then a website host, or even add additional features onto my website where I can sell products, this has it all in one. You can do most of that for free on their free pricing plan. So I think I signed up for my first full year. It was like $23 a month. And I could do all of those things. I could have my, send all my emails, have my funnels, have a place where I could sell things. All of those were included in it. And that was by far the cheapest I could find, because if you do like ClickFunnels, I think that's like $100 a month in and of itself, So I just love that it's very affordable. You can start out for free and then add on if you need to.
How much should I expect to pay for an illustrator? Linda's asking.
Anywhere from $40 a page to $1,000 a page.
Where do you search for an illustrator?
A place to start is Instagram, and you would just search hashtags children's illustrator, children's book illustrator, I am illustrating, and see if anything comes up that you think, oh, that's what I had in mind for my style that I like. And one thing you can do is go to Barnes & Noble, go to Walmart, go to any bookstore, library, or whatever, pick up books and look through and see, and then look for somebody in that style. Sometimes when you're writing a book, you can and totally envision what you think the illustration should look like. So look for somebody that can match that vision. And then I actually found my last illustrator because somebody posted a book that she had illustrated, and I thought it was just adorable. So I just got her name off the cover, looked her up and messaged her. So I do that sometimes too.
I'm sure, Misty, you're collecting kind of a collection of people that are your favorite ones to kind of go through this process for you quickly so that you can launch books like this. So Correct. It's always good to build that relationship with your illustrators.
Yes. So I have the same sort of lists where for my courses where I would offer that to my students, because that's a big holdup. I feel like some people would put their book on the back burner because they don't know how to take that next step. Right. So anything that I can do to help move that along is what I try to do. Even when somebody's writing their manuscript and I try to brace them for the critique part or the editing part and be like, this is going to sting a little. Like they are not going to say this is a perfect manuscript. Their job is to find things you can improve, and it might hurt a little bit. Please don't let that stop you. And if some advice you get about your manuscript doesn't sit well with you, then don't listen to it. It's your book. You are meant to write it for a reason. And so don't let that stop you. I mean, you'll get good at getting critiques and saying, this is going to make my story better, I'm using it, or they didn't quite catch my vision, and you pass that along. So, there's lots of stumbling blocks along the way, and, progress over perfection. Move forward, do something a little bit every day to move forward, and you'll eventually get there. So
that's great advice, Misty. Going back now, I want to go back to launching. You said at the beginning, it was difficult to know how to launch. And I think that's typical for a lot of new authors. They work so hard to get their book ready. And then, things like we went over, it's building an email list and make sure that you've got, reach out to influencers, and maybe it's Amazon ads and it's other things too. And a launch team has been so critical for others. So how has your launch changed today as you're launching books? What are the things that you do typically to launch your book well, given all the expertise you've had with the number of rollouts you've done?
I'm going to say something that's probably not popular opinion, because I know there is launch pros out there that will say maybe something different than what I'm going to say. And I'm not going to point any names, but there's people out there that are like, it's all about the reviews and I have to have 100 reviews the day my book launches or it's going to bomb. You need 10 reviews. I mean, you don't need so many reviews and that's all you're focused on. And then you didn't do any of the other stuff. You need a little bit of social proof on Amazon. At about 10 reviews, people are like, okay, this, I can believe this, instead of 1 or 2 where you're like, oh, that was for mom, I do get a launch team and I send it out and I ask politely for reviews. You cannot bribe them. You can't say, I'm going to hold a drawing. Anybody who gives a review, I'm going to do a drawing for a free book. That's getting scary. And the last thing you want to do is do something that's going to put your account in jeopardy. Like, that's against Amazon rules. And so I would just steer very, very clear of that. And, Amazon doesn't allow friends and family to give reviews. And so even getting 10 is challenging at times, right? So I focus on getting a solid number of reviews, but not like over the top. I don't know that that's necessarily going to give you more sales in the long run. Maybe it does, but that's not what I do. So I go on a bunch of different websites, and I do have a list of websites that I go on, and you basically put in your information and you say what days your book is going to be free, and then they give it out to their small number of lists. I mean, I do Fussy Librarian and things like that as well. But these other ones I put on because they reach a different markets, and it does take me a few hours to get onto all of them. But what that does is gets me in front of other people that I don't normally see, or that all of Fussy Librarian's market doesn't, other people besides them, because I'm on Fussy Librarian. I get free ebooks and I don't even open them half the time. It's just a lot, a lot coming in at me. So I think these other sites that have little smaller followings are helpful, but that really helps boost my page reads. So for the last 9-10 months in a row, I've been getting Kindle Unlimited bonuses. So from the KU fund or whatever they call it. But I think they're discontinuing that, which I'm super sad about. Have you heard about that?
No, I hadn't heard that, Misty.
Well, they're doing different things. And it said, I think the last email said, we'll no longer do the children's book portion of it because there's no way that we can compete with novels. They kind of treat us a little differently, but I'm interested to see how they're going to change that around. And I'm worried that I'm going to start losing those. But what it does is it gets you your page reads, which also gets you in views and people get to know about you. And I put all of my books in the back of each of my books. So they have a list of what my other books are with the covers, because some kids will be like, I read that one, or, ooh, I want to read that one. Or, so kids will be the ones to look at those, make sure it's appealing to kids. So make sure you have your covers on there. And then I immediately start Amazon ads. I don't wait. I do an auto ad, I do a keyword ad, and I do a category ad. And that's all I do. I have taken courses where they tell you to go hog wild on creating ads.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that either.
I did it with several of my books, and it messed it up so bad. And you can't fix it. You can't delete an ad. It's there bogging up what I view, and I have to kind of work around it. But I don't recommend that at all. When I started doing just the 3 and my keywords were very targeted, that's when they started performing really well. And that's all I do. I mean, I post on my social media accounts and I tell my friends and family about it, but I don't tell them right away. I don't know if you know this, but you want the algorithm to show that people that are interested in children's books are who they're going to show your book to. And if your friends and family are people that don't normally buy children's books, but they're going to buy yours, that might mess up the algorithm a little bit. Mm-hmm. So tell them after your month, tell them to wait to buy it after a month, because you want the algorithm to be showing your book to people that are going to buy children's books regularly.
So are you doing anything with events or school visits, Misty?
I don't actively pursue. I do when they contact me. And I'm not saying I'm always going to do that. I do want to eventually get to the point where I am actively pursuing it, because I think it's a great avenue. I really do. Mm-hmm. I'm just too busy. I can't publish 10 books a year and do all the author visits. I can't do everything. And that's one word of advice I have is you can't do everything. You just can't. There's things that I do and I enjoy doing, and I like to pick and choose the things that I like to do. And then the things I don't like to do, I don't have time for anyway, so I don't focus on those. I do eventually want to do author visits because I love doing them. But like I said, I can't do regular author visits and publish 10 books. It's like one or the other, or I do a mix and match. In fact, this year I haven't published a single book because I've been working on my courses. And courses take a lot of work and you want to do them right. Mm-hmm. And so that's what my focus is right now. And so it's been nice because I've been making residual income on my books enough to support me while I'm working on my courses. I do have a freebie that I promised, and some of you may have seen it. It's my Secrets to Success Guide to become a best-selling author. So it's basically a checklist with links and resources included in it of everything I did to, sell 85,000 copies. Now, there are some things I put in there that I put optional, like a Kickstarter, because I didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And, I got to where I was without doing that. So I put optional. I haven't focused on media attention, to be honest. I haven't focused on my press releases. I haven't done any of that. And it's not because I don't think it's important. It's just because I've been focusing on getting my books out. And like I said, you just can't do everything. So new authors and even published authors can get overwhelmed very quickly by looking at what everybody else is doing. So-and-so is going to post about their, success here, and so-and-so is going to post about this and this. And you're going to go, I have to do all of that. I have to do all of that to be successful. And it's just not true. In fact, if you try to do all of it, I think that's worse, because you're distracting yourself from the most important thing you can do, which is to continue to publish books. If you're okay with me sharing a coupon for my Get It Written workshop, I would love to do that too.
Sure, absolutely.
So the coupon is 20 discount, and that will give you $20 off. And it's super cheap. It's $37 with the coupon and gives you loads of information. Even I've had many published authors take it and go, I had no idea. I didn't know, right. Not all of it. They know a lot of it or some of it, but there's like things in there that they were like, I didn't ever think of that before, or I didn't know that. And Deborah Kroll is one of them. She's published 14 books, and she's like, I used it to publish my 15th, and it was the best book I've ever done. So it's definitely something that I think can help anybody.
The course that I have starting on June 14th goes on for 12 weeks, but it assumes people are coming in with their manuscript done. It doesn't have to be fully edited, but what a great opportunity to go through that minor investment and really clear up and prepare for a 12-week course or for additional training to go through the publishing process as well. So I'm going to go ahead and check it out, Misty, because I think I would like to be able to recommend that and maybe even put it on my recommended resources, as I don't focus on the writing process. So I think it could be a great complement, and I will be happy to put that on my recommended resource list. So I'll go in there and check out that guide and also the course itself and see if I can help promote that for you, because it's
awesome. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, it sounds
and
like something really
I agree
important.
with you. I think a lot of people are like, anybody can write a children's book. Did you know some of the best novelists and so many authors that don't write children's books think I could never write a children's book because of how complex it really is. So if you don't know all of those things, that's the foundation of your business and your book. Your name is on that. And if it's not up to standard, it's not, it might sell a few copies, but it's not going to help promote other books that you're selling because they're not going to see that quality.
Right. And, every word counts with a children's book.
Every word counts.
There's so few words there. If you're trying to hit 500 or 600 words. 800, I think, is the most that I would recommend on a picture book, but you have to make sure every word counts. So that's a great opportunity for us to remember and to just refresh our memory on some of the things we thought we knew, because it's not the case. And I always recommend people are lifelong learners. Every week, I'm probably doing 3 or 4 courses and listening to webinars. And I think one of the biggest recommendations that I can provide to other authors is go out and consume and learn and grow and get your mind working and focus on areas you want to get into. There's so much we can improve on. And it's my, companion when I'm walking or, listening to podcasts and things like that. So we can find time to do that and to learn and improve the craft. And I'm hearing loud and clear from you, Misty, is don't just settle with a book a year, like really ramp it up.
I love it so much. I am almost addicted to it. Like an addiction's not good. I'm not there, but I love it so much. It makes me so happy what I do, what I teach others to do. I really just get up in the morning and just love working. So.
I love that you following your passion. I feel the same way with this is what I'm meant to do. And especially when you're helping other authors, there's no better feeling to be able to be someone else's, mentor and help them through the process. So I love that you're doing that as well. Any other final parting words or pieces of advice you want to close with, Misty?
Give yourself grace. Look at how far you've come. I don't know what stage you are all in. And I need to take this advice for myself because I still have bad days. I still get discouraged. I still, get a bad review here and there that I'm like, I really try not to let that bother me because who cares, right? But it can sting. But give yourself grace. Look at how far you've come. If you've published one book, that is amazing. That in and of itself is amazing. And now you have the knowledge to do it again. So many people say, oh, I want to write children's books. I've always wanted to do that. Do they do it? No, they don't ever do it. It's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would do it. And you've done it. So congratulate yourself. Be proud of yourself for that. I mean, be kind to yourself. It can get discouraging really fast if you're down on yourself.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Misty, for joining us today and for the discount code. So that's 20 discount. MistyBlackAuthor.com/school and use the 20 discount to get that training discount. And for the guide, MistyBlackAuthor.com/bestselling-guide, and you can get some of these resources. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for the value that you added here today, the advice, and for these great discounts. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Misty.
Have a good day.